Hello and welcome to The Natural View. I'm Maggie Jacqua. I'm the content director of Whole Foods Magazine, and I'm here with my co-host, Todd Polly of 24 Stories Marketing. Hey, Todd.
Hi, Maggie.
Great to see you as always. And today we're going to talk about a legacy brand that's evolving and innovating, some really cool stuff going on. Our guest today is Amy Wescott. She's the manager of operations and supply chain at Church Dwight. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks, Maggie.
Hey, Amy.
Great to have you here. So I know you guys have a lot going on, and we were saying there's so many things we could talk about because Arm & Hammer has just been a trusted name for nearly 180 years, and we're going to talk about some of the things you have going on. Most people associate Arm & Hammer with baking soda, of course, but you guys have expertise that really goes just so above and beyond that. So can you share a little bit about, that's a long history. Can you give us kind of a snapshot of some of the evolution and what the company is focusing on?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, right, everybody thinks of Arm & Hammer and you think of the little yellow box at the store, right? So bicarb experts, we certainly are. And Arm & Hammer is a name that's certainly built on quality, trust, and especially in that bicarb space. But we really are moving beyond that food space, and we have areas in companion animal, production, animal health. And as the consumer trend shift, we are really trying to move with that shift as well. And so, yes, we're the bicarb experts, but now we're moving beyond that to focus on targeted solutions that are really kind of looking at that healthy lifestyle. And so what we're focusing on here, and I think two of the big areas that we can really help to navigate this are the area of probiotics. So we're supporting gut health, vaginal health, immune health, nutrient absorption, but in addition, the sodium reduction space. So moving beyond just your typical places where you think of reducing sodium, crackers, soups, that kind of thing, and into the baking industry as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. And we want to touch on both of those areas because they're both germane to, the podcast and what we're talking about in our audience. Let's start with probiotics. So I like the name of the brand of probiotics, Evolved. I mean, there's so much packed in there. Right? Can you talk just in general about Arm & Hammer's approach to entering the market and then what you're wanting to do with Evolved Probiotics?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background here at Arm & Hammer actually started as a research scientist in the lab. So the probiotics are quite near and dear to my heart with the science of everything. And our big focus was, again, just looking at that consumer trends, right? So consumers are really focusing on holistic wellness and being able to take charge of their own health. And I think COVID spurred some of that, right? Instead of waiting until you get sick, I think people are looking to be more proactive and seek for solutions before something like that might happen. And so right now, about 75% of consumers are purchasing probiotics, and a lot of them are still focusing about 60% on that gut health and immune health market. So we decided, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for Arm & Hammer to take the legacy of our probiotic work here at the Waukesha Science Hearted Center site in Wisconsin. Again, we've got companion animal work and we've been involved in the food chain for natural solutions, but take all of that data and put that towards the human probiotic market. And here at that Science Hearted Center, we have a library of about 100,000 different potential probiotic strains that we can work with, along with about 25 different scientists here. So we've got a lot of science research at this facility.
Yeah, so I mean, given that there's so much potential. So you said 100,000 potential probiotic strains in the library. How do you leverage that? I mean, how can the strains be customized? I mean, to meet specific brand needs, to help the consumer? A lot of potential there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me personally, this is kind of my favorite part. So as we go and we meet with a brand, we really like to understand, of course, we're going to share what we're working on, right? But we really want to understand and have more of an innovation meeting to really get to know what's missing from their portfolio. What do they need? What are they looking for? And where are the gaps, right? And then we can start drafting and getting ideas together. Okay, this is what you're looking for. Let's take the resources that we have at the Science Hearted Center and that bank of 100,000 strains, and now we can start screening for something that's really going to tailor what they need, right? And so in the end, it ends up going to the end consumer, which is the whole goal. And so we really want to focus on tailoring science-backed solutions. So as an example of some of the strains that have come out of that library, we have 5 that are currently commercialized on the market. The first one that we have is a Lactobacillus reuteri strain called 3613-1. This is a newly clinically studied strain that focuses on vaginal and urinary tract health for women. Women's health is, of course, a huge area. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with that in the market right now. And a lot of the products out there, they aren't, they've been the same strains for the last few years, right? And so there really aren't a lot of choices for women to have. And so our goal is to try to give women another choice and again, focus on having ownership in their own healthy lifestyle.
That sounds really interesting, Amy. Can you tell me a little bit more about some additional strains you have?
Sure. Yeah. So again, as we talked about, a lot of consumers, their focus for probiotics right now is gut and immune health. And so we have two strains as well for that category. We have the Lactobacillus plantarum 276. This is, again, a clinically studied strain where we saw really positive benefits for gut health and overall quality of life changes during that study. And then we also have a Bacillus 747 as well. And our goal here, again, it's such a big category, gut and immune health. And so we wanted to have a strain like Lactobacillus plantarum, again, clinically studied, great support. And this is really beneficial for capsules, stick packs, sachets, that sort of thing. But then again, right, we're focusing on how consumers are looking to get a lot of their health and well-being from the foods that they eat. So we also like the Bacillus, which is a spore-forming strain. And so we think that could go into more of the food and beverage market. And then the last two, which I'm really excited to share. So this is part of our bio-transformation platform that we have here at Arm & Hammer. So these are, again, two Bacillus strains, 839 and 1579. So they are spore formers, so good for that food and beverage application. But these are, again, we call it our bio-transformation platform. And really the goal here is that these two strains help to enhance absorption from a lot of the fruits and vegetables that we eat.
Okay, so it's taking the foods that we're already eating and making them
better for you. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh, we like that. Lots of potential, in that space. We know the microbiome space is just absolutely booming. So it's great to see the innovation and opportunities there. But there's another major trend that we want to touch on too, and that's sodium reduction. And we've heard, like you touched on at the top, we've heard about sodium reduction really in terms of savory foods. You think of soups, you think of snacks. But there's more opportunity there as well, right? Can you talk about some of the trends and, in terms of baking and more ways to reduce sodium?
Yeah. So it's actually really interesting, right? I mean, sodium is a key ingredient in everything we eat. Everyone likes their salty popcorn or their salty pretzels, right? But according to the FDA, overconsumption is becoming an issue here. And so a lot of consumers are consuming about 3,400 milligrams of sodium a day versus the recommended 2,300 milligrams. And so it is an issue, right? But where you're starting to see changes happen, we're seeing it both in the consumer side of things. So about 46% of consumers are actually trying to actively limit the sodium in their diets, which is great. So you're seeing it from the consumer side, but then in addition, there's also regulatory pressure or requirements that are coming into play as well. So the USDA, for example, and the FDA is suggesting that in school lunch programs, they need to reduce the amount of sodium present. So it's all great, and it brings pressure along to the manufacturers to align both with the consumer side of things, the regulatory requirements, which are all great things, but of course, everybody wants the product that they're eating to still taste good or have a good texture, right? So I think this is a big area for improvement in sodium reduction, but there's two ways to look at it. And so for the manufacturing side, whatever development goes on, you have to think about that texture and flavor as well.
Yeah, you zero in on a key component of baking, right? And that is taste. And I equate that with, in one component of quality as well. I mean, if someone, you can have something that is lower sodium, but if it doesn't really meet those marks, then is it a success, right? And I'm wondering how you're striking that balance with bakers to make sure that you're able to bake with lower sodium, but also ensure quality overall.
Yeah, and I think the biggest way that people have been trying to combat this at the moment is with potassium bicarbonate. So potassium bicarb still offers the same leavening qualities, effervescence, and buffering properties, but you get to reduce the sodium content, right? So you're taking sodium out of the mix, and then you're also being able to increase potassium levels, which is an important and key factor in a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet, right? So I think those are it's kind of a good way to cover both those sides of things. You still get the positive flavor, texture, but you're also working on that sodium reduction. And Arm & Hammer specifically has a range of potassium bicarb products, but two that we're really excited about at the moment. The first one is called Coda 50. So this is best for kind of a low moisture dough type product like biscuits or cookies or something like that. So it has really good solubility that helps to prevent that bicarb spotting that people tend to see. And then the second one is Coda 100, and this is designed for more of a batter type liquid. So cake mix, right? Fluffy pancakes, that sort of thing. And it has an optimized particle size that helps for even CO2 release, and it helps to create that fluffy and high quality consistency. So switching to potassium bicarb, right? Again, you reduce sodium, still get the good texture and flavor, and you get to add potassium in.
I wanted to ask you, and if this is kind of off topic, but the FDA has proposed these new front of package labels too, and sodium being something that's going to be flagged. So this is really an opportunity for brands to be rethinking their formulations on that front as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think on average, with the Coda products, you can increase the potassium levels about 8%. So again, something else that brands could think about putting on their labels as well.
Yeah, I mean, and we really see that brands they're under this increased pressure to meet, consumers want healthier, they want it functional. Like you said, it's still got to taste good. So maybe you can talk about kind of some of the ways that Arm & Hammer is positioned to help brands deliver on those consumer demands and these evolving needs that are out there.
Sure. And I think I'm probably biased here, right? But I say that Arm & Hammer is positioned quite well to help with these different categories. Our legacy, again, right, it's in bicarbonates, and now we're moving to that beyond portion. And I think we want to do more than just provide an ingredient, right? We want to actually provide a solution for the consumer trends and consumer issues that are out there at the moment. So we really like to work with brands as strategic partners. We want to help them with their launches. We want to help in development, and we really want to work together to find a science-backed solution. And I will say, I think this is kind of a key point. As at Arm & Hammer, we don't just want to have a product out there because there's a space in the market. We want to be sure that when we do have a product that goes out there, it is science-backed. We've done the studies, we've done clinicals, and we know it's going to work. So I think that's really important.
So those are both really two key areas, probiotics and this lower sodium approach that you're taking to the market. And I'm wondering, do you have any other takeaways you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I will say I think this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg for some of the premium ingredients coming from Arm & Hammer. So innovation is key on our forefront. So there's always new things up and coming. But I think it's just important to remember that the consumer and brands, right? Again, people want to have that choice for themselves. They want to make that healthy lifestyle and healthy decision. And I think that's a goal that we should all kind of be working towards is that aspect.
Absolutely agree with that. All right. Well, we're excited to hear about what else is coming down in the future. So I know you guys will keep us updated. But thank you for taking the time today to get us up on all the latest. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it as well.